So I recently watched the trailer to the new Harry Potter reboot, because that's what we need, apparently. And it seemed very underwhelming, and honestly, I'm probably not going to watch it. Maybe I'll talk about it. I'm just not going to watch it, because honestly, it seems like a waste of time. But what I've noticed is that it centers around a specific actor named Papa Essidou, if I'm saying that correctly, who's the new Severus Snape for this series of Harry Potter. You can already tell where this is going. Hollywood seems to be following a trend where it seems to be a progressive time where they have to cast characters with specific actors in a weird specific way. Yeah, I'm starting to see a pattern here that I'm not sure is necessary. But we'll talk about that a bit later. For now, I want to talk about weird casting choices. In regards to Essidou, for example, there are other weird casting choices that honestly kind of stand out to me as well in other films. Will be relative to what I'm going to talk about later, but let's just talk about these for a second. Whenever you see a film that's meant to be extremely groundbreaking by relatively good filmmakers, or at least people that just know how to make a film, you always get that casting choice in a handful of other films that really makes you scratch your head wondering what the hell were they thinking. First, let's talk about Cameron Diaz in Gangs of New York. A Martin Scorsese film, and a good one at that. It has a casting of Leonardo DiCaprio and Daniel Day-Lewis. Pretty good combo if you ask me in terms of lead actor and supporting actor, and it leads to some pretty good results in terms of the chemistry they have between each other. The one that stands out the most is Cameron Diaz, and not in a good way. It seems as though she's out of place in this movie. I'm not saying her acting's terrible, but it's hard for me to believe that she needs to really be in this. Maybe someone on the caliber of just like someone more sophisticated and more experienced in this type of thing, but clearly she's not it. And then there's Jack Black. First of all, who the hell's idea was to cast Jack Black in a Peter Jackson movie? You're putting against actual veterans like Naomi Watts and Adrian Brody. Clearly, somebody was drinking when it came to that casting choice. Again, he's not terrible. He's just out of place. It's not like he's not trying to make this work. It just doesn't work with him in the film. And no matter how many times you try to force it, it just doesn't work. And it really takes you out the film very easily. What makes it so strange, though, is the fact that they really try to insist on making you think it's going to work. And it just doesn't. It's really distracting, and it's like, keep in mind, this movie's 3 hours long. So you have to deal with him being in the film for 3 hours long. Even when he says the famous line, it wasn't the airplanes, it was Beauty that killed the beast. Even he couldn't deliver that correctly either. And it's just like, you're not fitted for this movie. Get out of the movie. I'm sorry. But I think the most annoying casting choice in any film so far is Chris Pratt as Mario in the Mario movie. This is just embarrassing. You're really telling me this was the best choice? Sure, it gets him a good paycheck considering the movie made over $1 billion, but like, for many of us, it immediately takes us out of the film because we have to hear Chris Pratt's voice for an hour and a half. Like, really? What were you thinking in terms of this? I don't understand how they thought this was okay. This is ridiculous to me. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is supposed to be a professional industry, and this was the choice he made. But it also brings me to a certain point in terms of the controversial casting. With the controversial casting, there always seems to be a pattern that Hollywood seems to follow, and that pattern is usually the wokeness of casting someone who clearly doesn't fit the role in the physical sense, but they try their best to make that casting choice work because they've already put in so much money into the production that they can't really make that change. 3 examples I can think of is Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four in 2015, the second one being Hal Bailey in the Little Mermaid remake, and of course, with the video's topic, Papa Essidou playing as Severus Snape in the reboot of Harry Potter. What these 3 casting choices have in common have the same in common with each production that they're being casted in. Whenever they cast like this with these specific productions, it's always a black actor for some reason. I've come to a theory as to why that keeps happening. The reason why they keep doing this is because they have this sort of idea where if they do a controversial casting of a black actor in a role that's meant to be for a white actor, that will immediately get front page in terms of news or viral following on the internet, or at least some form of attention, because they know that their product is horseshit and completely unnecessary to exist. Hence, Fantastic Four's remake wasn't really meant to exist. Nobody asked for another remake of that shit because of the last one ended up being so poorly made, as well as the last one that was also poorly made. And The Little Mermaid, nobody needed another shitty live-action Disney remake from an animated film because they all suck anyway. They're all terrible. And as well as the Harry Potter reboot, nobody asked for a Harry Potter reboot because we were already fine with what we had. We don't need another version of this. But they have to do this casting choice in order to get people riled up, just so they can get attention onto the screen, because they know that all these productions, they don't necessarily need to exist, but they need eyes on the screen and asses on the seat so that they can get viewership for these shows. And to me, it's such a pathetic way of trying to get attention for your production, and it really screams desperation, and it genuinely pisses me off. It clearly shows that not only Hollywood has no creative ideas or originality anymore, or I guess they never did in the first place, but it also screams like they don't know what they're doing and they need to retire and let other people actually do this job correctly, because clearly they're wasting their time and energy as well as their money on something that doesn't need to exist. And I'm really tired of seeing it. And you want to know what's worse? The people that take the heat in terms of it is always the actor playing that character. So like I said, Michael B. Jordan, Halle Bailey, Papa Essiedu, they're all getting the heat from so many people, whether it be like angry comments or death threats. Anything harmful to these actors specifically goes straight to that actor, but never to the people that cast them in the first place that knew this was a bad idea, but they did this anyway to get attention. First of all, no one needs to send death threats to anybody. Secondly, no one should have casted them in the first place. But in the end, it's not really the actor's fault for choosing the role. All they did was to simply said, yeah, we're taking the role. We're going to read these lines off this script and we're going to act out the scenes that we need to in order to make that paycheck. And then when it comes down to it, yes, that is what an actor is supposed to do. It doesn't need to result into people getting death threats. It's not necessary to do, but it's also not necessary to cast them in a role that they clearly don't fit into. Again, which isn't their fault. Now, going back to the casting I mentioned earlier before the ones of the topic of the video, I mentioned those three casting choices because they was for like the director's point of view in terms of who fits the role based on their artistic standpoint, or at least two of them are, like Gangs of New York and King Kong. Like artistically, Martin Scorsese and Peter Jackson simply just thought they were fit for the role, while everyone else thought completely differently, but it was their artistic vision in terms of doing that. With Chris Pratt as Mario, that was just stupid. That was just plain stupid. I don't know who thought of that. But then there's these three actors that are casted for these three roles that they don't fit into, where you can simply easily tell that there's some political agenda going on and they're trying to make things woke for some reason. It not only takes you out of the production that they're trying to immerse you into, but it's also like they're trying to force a political agenda down your throat without actually giving you a chance to just watch the product as a piece of entertainment. It's like this political agenda has to be in your brain, otherwise you won't watch the show. And they always do it with like existing IPs that are popular because they know that the political agenda being in its own original idea is bullshit. I mean, why else do you think something like Velma, despite it being one of the most hated animated shows of all time, still gets watched and ends up getting a second season after so much negative attention towards it? It's because of the agenda. They're pushing it down your throat, and they're making so many changes without giving any explanation as to why, and they just expect you to go along with it. That's not going to appease people. That's just going to piss people off, but despite that, they still get you to watch the goddamn show. But we're starting to notice a pattern, whereas if this continues, people are going to completely boycott all of these shows and movies to the point where, again, they're going to lose all their money and all their resources, and then probably get their studio shut down because, again, they ran out of money. And now they're just going to put themselves in a hole that they can't dig themselves out of. And that's just going to create bigger problems for them, as well as destroy entertainment as a whole. And that's just not something I'm for. So all I'm saying with that is, Hollywood, make some better creative choices for future productions, because clearly this isn't it. And for the actors that choose these roles, Godspeed, because I really hope there's a future for you after this, because like Hollywood is only destroying that future day by day every time this keeps happening. They don't deserve a bit of that controversy. This needs to stop. This really needs to stop, please.